I didn't even know I was tapping the table. I'm gonna literally like.
So this is a segment of the podcast where you keep your hands in the air so you don't knock the mic.
One of the things that you've been doing that I think people have been keeping an eye on is the legendary naga. And I'd love for you to tell us more about that concept.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've only tried it through your version at an iftar supper club last year.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And it was a fabulous experience. You know, me and my friend, we just couldn't stop gushing over the flavors, the textures, because it was not just about the food, which was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Laos and Persian cuisine kind of mixed together, the inspiration.
Mainly.
And there was storytelling to the side as well. There was artwork. There was that menu with the story. It's fascinating because it was done really well. So yeah, just tell us a little bit more about the legendary naga.
So with the legendary naga, that came about when I was working at my family restaurants back in the day. And there's this one particular dish that always piqued my interest, and that is gang masaman curry,
Yeah.
Thai masaman curry. There were spices in there that were vibrant to my taste buds, you know, cumin, fennel, nutmeg, cinnamon, and boom, boom, boom. And these are spices that you wouldn't normally have in Lao and Thai cuisine.
Right.
You know, it's an influence from abroad. And I asked my aunts and my mom, and they gave me various answers. And with my own research, I found out that masaman is kind of like a bastardization of the word Musliman.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true, but that's what some food researchers have said.
Yeah.
But there's one thing for certain, and that is masaman curry has Arabic Muslim influences from the spices.
Yeah.
So I was like, wait a second, if this dish came from that, how come there are no other dishes like that?
Right.
So as a young child, I was like, oh my gosh, what if I, you know, I had a vivid imagination. I still do.
Yeah.
So I was like, why don't I just create dishes that played upon that context, but in a thoughtful way? You know, for instance, you can have a Russian burrito. That's cool, right? But then, like, does it make sense? So my philosophy is when I'm creating something, it has to make sense. So I just went down the rabbit hole of the West Asia region in terms of Iran, the Levant, GCC, even Pakistan and India. And I looked at the food and the recipes, and I looked at the story, the history, you know, regarding the Silk Road and the spice trade. And I just somehow put things together, like, and you've tasted in a thoughtful way that made sense, and it wasn't wacky.
I think what was also great was, you know, you do the storytelling and that concept yourself. And I think the artwork that day, for example, was also yours.
Yeah. So that artwork that day was from I'm an amateur painter, an illustrator, a poet. I've been writing poetry since, you know, I've been fascinated with literature and poetry. And as you know, we follow each other on social media, and I post poems all the time. So I wanted to have
And
this.
sometimes you're performing them as well, because I remember one that was like, I can't remember if it was a spoken word style or a rap style, but you went into it. I just thought, wait, is this him? Is he actually doing this?
Yeah, I do perform spoken word.
That's
every now
amazing.
and then. So at that particular event that you were at for Iftar, I created a short story involving the legendary Naga, which was a fictional story about a character who was a Naga. And for those of you that don't know, to a Buddhist and Southeast Asia, the Naga is a divine deity, a water serpent dragon that we believe in. You know, they're found in rocks, rivers, stones, and every object imaginable, and they protect you. And the story was based upon the Naga, who was fighting an evil dragon from Persia at the time. And I don't want to give too much into it, but you know, the character is reincarnated in Persia and has to find his way back home. And there's just a lot of intrigue and drama and whatnot. And each of the courses on that night coincided with a paragraph of the story. So as you read the story, each dish progresses with that.
what is the life cycle, I guess, of a dish for you? So you have an idea, you obviously go into R&D. How long does it take before, or on average, really,
Mhm.
before you say, yes, that's the dish I want on this menu? Or
Sure. So it varies,
yeah,
right? If you hit it off the mark, then perfect. But I've never ever have I made a dish and was like, oh, that's it. Let's ready.
are
It's
you a
ready. Let's go.
perfectionist?
I am.
Yeah,
I am. As most chefs would, say. But at the same time, you have to be a realist.
yeah,
So you want to strive for perfection, but you have to be efficient with it. There's a balance. I lead my life with balance all the time. I've been a monk a few times in my life. With the legendary Naga, you know the story with the
yeah,
monk and whatnot. And balance to me is important. You can strive for perfection, but if you're losing efficiency, then what's the point?
mm,
And if you're always being efficient with no creativity, then what's the point? You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, sorry, going back to the
Sure.
the life cycle of your dish.
Yes.
Sorry,
Um,
I distracted you.
no
That's
worries,
my
no
fault.
worries. Life cycle, I would say on average about 2 weeks
Okay.
to perfect a dish. And I'll go back to a dish. I'll start it and then maybe give it a few days to let it ferment in
Yeah.
my head and marinate, and then go back at it again. And sometimes I'll be out and about at work or doing something, and then I'll be, oh, you know what? Oh gosh, that would have been amazing. Let's try that. And then I can't wait to go back home and then
Yeah.
tinker. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've seen since I guess following you on social media, is I've seen that you do a lot of collab work with other chefs in
Yes.
the country, and it's kind of great to see. I mean, for me, every time, like just when the community does come together,
Mm.
can you tell us a little bit more about some of the work you've done with other chefs?
Right now, I'm working with Faisal
Mm-hmm.
from Lento.
Yeah.
We have a concept called kebab, which is using the idea of taking kebabs from this region and infusing Southeast Asian flavors from my region, and then his bread, his khubz, his sauces and whatnot. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful creation. And I'm also working with Chef JP from Kuya. There is a concept that we've been doing pop-ups with, which is like a Filipino barbecue chicken concept.
Mm-hmm.
And every now and then, I work with Chef Rita. We like to bring our minds together and our hearts together to create more dishes along the Levant, Southeast Asian route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Faisal's been on the podcast before as well. And I just love seeing sometimes when you guys post together, yeah, like you said, you just look like you're having fun.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing, and it's
For
great.
real. That's all it is. People are like, hey, is there a strategy? Like, no, we just go and have fun. Like, we're both musicians as well.
Yeah.
We're into like everything from electronic to R&B and hip hop, and we have these musical devices like beat machines, drum
Mm-hmm.
machines, keyboards, and we'll just bring them into the kitchen or the stock room, and we'll just make music on the fly and
Yeah.
record it and just have fun.
Yeah, because I think I read that you used to be a music producer as well.
Yeah. I used to, so before I was a
This is
chef.
a lot.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you're digging deep. Digging in the crates.
Yeah.
So back in Canada, I used to, partake in beat battles, and I used to be in the studio with like recording artists and whatnot. And I think I have a track or two on the radio back in Toronto, like a long, long,
Yeah.
long time ago, as a young adolescent. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And is that something you just kind of do on the side now, like just for fun, or?
It is. It's still a hobby of mine.
Yeah.
So, you know what? When I think about music and poetry and writing and painting, I still do that because it keeps me grounded as a chef.
Mm.
Why? Because it's like when I take the analogy of painting and illustrating, just because you have 100 colors on the palette doesn't mean you should use them. So, as a chef, just because you have the accessibility and the range of 1,000 ingredients doesn't mean you should use them. Keep it simple,
Yeah.
right? When I'm making music, when I'm doing a production for a beat, if you put too many instruments, too many sounds, melodies, harmonies, frequencies, it muddies up the mix,
Yeah.
right? So you have to take away, take away, take away. So I'm a big fan of simplifying things. And Faisal says himself, simplify to amplify.
It sounds like, as it should be, that mental health is something that's very important to you, because you've talked about
Correct.
that. You've talked about balance as
Correct.
well.
100%.
Yeah. Do you think that's an issue in the industry as a whole, though?
Oh, yeah, globally, 100%. I've had a lot of colleagues throughout the years that I've seen go down a very dark hole with illegal substances and narcotics. I've never even smoked a cigarette in my life. But I've seen that, and it's very terrible. And it's because there is no balance.
Hmm.
There's that traditional ideal that chefs and servers and everybody in the F&B industry should just slog through it, should just
Yeah.
graft and work hard, which you should. I work hard like crazy, but you also have to realize balance.
Mm.
Because if you push yourself to the limit, you're broken, and then you just lose more time trying to get back to that point.
Yeah.
So there's that. I believe there's an Irish proverb that I always remember. It's like sometimes you must stop to sharpen the scythe before you continue to cut.
Hmm.
Because if you use your mind and your body like a knife in the kitchen, and you're using it so much and it gets dull, you can't go on, or else you're just going to cut yourself and make mistakes. So you have to stop, take a break, sharpen the knife, go back again.
Yeah.
Balance.
Yeah, no, balance makes a lot of sense. And obviously, I think it's an issue for so many people, like with burnout and things like that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to hear like your thoughts on the issue as well.
Mm.
I wanted to change tacks a little bit and
Sure.
ask you maybe a little more lighthearted questions. A little bit. Do you have a favorite ingredient that you like to cook with?
Oof.
Is this like asking you to choose your favorite child? Because your face just went.
Yes, because oh my gosh. My number one favorite ingredient would have to be sticky rice.
Okay, yeah.
Kaunio, glutinous rice. It's so versatile. In Lao cooking, Lao and Northern Thai cooking, we use it not only to steam and eat as is, we can use it to ferment. We use it for making fermented sausages. We
Okay.
use it for making fermented vegetables. We can toast it and then grind it and use it for powder, for lap, which a lot of people call it larb.
Yeah.
Lap, the salad dish. We can use it in desserts, right? It's so versatile, sticky rice. So I would have to say that as an ingredient is my number one.
So I wanted to ask,
Mm.
what is it that nourishes your soul?
Giving in any shape and form. A lot of my family members and my friends would know me as such, to the point where sometimes I give too much, and that is the balance that I'm still trying to find. Uh, I don't. I've been told that I should think up for myself more often, which I don't. I always give, and it's probably something that my family, my parents have instilled in me. It's a positive and a negative.
Yeah.
Positive because how else can we make the world go round if we don't give, in love? But negative because I don't give myself enough time and love.
Balance.
Balance, which I'm trying hard to find. We'll get there.